For purposes of negotiation, so we will resume our meeting and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I moved the flag. I forgot to put it back.
We got it. Okay, there is one addition to the agenda, and that would be action item number 12 as it relates to with the interim superintendent discussion. And so that being said,
you want a motion?
please.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Julie?
Mr. Buckey?
Yeah.
Mr. Dracos?
Yes.
Ms. McQuiston?
Yes.
Ms. Mermel?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Weedman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion's approved. Thank you. We have a presentation tonight, and we're
I'll start off.
recognizing our retirees.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that we don't have the opportunity to give them flowers and candy like we usually do at a board meeting, usually the last meeting in June. So we've put together, I should say Mark, he's the one that does this, a really nice video recognizing our wonderful retirees. So I think Julie has got it ready to go.
I do. However, Rick, would you like to give the summary at the beginning or the end?
What do you prefer? Would you like me to state names and stuff now so that that kind of sets up the video and people might know who they're looking for in the video? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Julie and Marion. Yes, it's that time of year again where we honor those individuals who have made career choices to quote unquote retire, and we congratulate them. Quite honestly, some of us maybe even envy them a little bit. We have 21 individuals tonight with a combined number of years of service to the Lake Orion Community Schools. Now, some of these folks have years of service in other districts and in time in education, but within our own district, a total of 452 years. So on average, that's 21.5 years each. They come to us from many different departments, and I will apologize ahead of time if I do mispronounce a couple of these. I'll do my best, but usually I have an opportunity to ask ahead of time when there are people in the room, and unfortunately we don't have that available to us. But I'll start off with Carol Bingesser. She was a science teacher at Scripps Middle School. She has been with the district for 22 years. Catherine Blaylock, bus assistant in transportation, 20 years. Betsy Bonfield, science teacher at Walden Middle School, 28 years in the district. Troy Campbell, our mechanic in transportation. This is his 30th year. Leona Dunnigan, cafeteria worker at Orion Oaks, 21 years. Catherine Engelbrecht, cafeteria worker at Walden Middle School, 24 years. Marla Ernst, our food service director. She's been with the district 21 years. Kathleen Goff, paraeducator at the high school for 25 years. John Gray, science teacher at Walden Middle School, 20 years. Lori Harris, math teacher at Walden Middle School, 25 years. Jan McGahee, secretary at Orion Oaks, 12 years. Lucy Mikulik, para-educator at CERC for 18 years. Charlene Pagel, early childhood center instructor at Weber, 21 years. Jamie Pastwa, special ed teacher from the Cirque Building, 26 years. Nancy Secor, kindergarten teacher from Pink Creek, 20 years. Maxine Shunk, ELA teacher at Walden Middle School with 24 years. Deborah Smith, child care assistant provider from Carpenter with 28 years. Kevin Stone, business teacher at the high school, 17 years. Pat Tarkington, secretary at Walden Middle School, 18 years. Mark Vaggie, paraeducator at Blanche Sims, 10 years. And Lynette Van Housen, secretary at Cirque, 22 years, food service secretary. As I said, that's 452 years of combined service. We do appreciate all they've done for us. Their commitment to the district is obvious with those number of years of service. We wish them the best in the future. And sorry that we couldn't honor them in a more personal way in person, but we wish them the best.
Thank you.
Good evening. It gives me great pleasure to congratulate, honor, and celebrate those of you who are retiring from the Lake Orion Community Schools. During the time that you have worked here, you have shown tremendous passion and commitment to all of our students and staff members with whom you have worked. You have to know that you are most appreciated and will definitely be missed. I wish you a wonderful, safe, healthy retirement. Enjoy time with your friends and your family. And I will be joining you this year as I also will be retiring. Thank you again for your commitment and for all that you have done for the Lake Orion Community Schools.
What is my favorite memory? How can I choose just one? I have so many wonderful memories of working with students, from student teaching at Blanche Sims in first grade to third grade at Blanche Sims, and then sixth grade language arts at Oakview, Walden, and then eighth grade at Walden Language Arts. I've loved them all. I have wonderful memories of working with students throughout all of those years.
Hi, it's Shar. One of my favorite memories of teaching at Lake Orion are all of the families who have touched my life and all the students who I've been able to see grow and learn.
Hi, I'm Betsy Bonfield. I've been at Walden for 28 years. I was hired to teach sixth grade science, and I've been there ever since. Some of my favorite memories are when I taught eighth grade American history, and I used the living through history approach, and we got to do a lot of role playing and had a lot of fun. The kids loved it. I would have kids come back and tell me how much they enjoyed my class.
I'm Carol Pincaser. I've been teaching at Scripps for 22 years. My favorite memory of Lake Orion Community Schools has to be when Dr. Van Haas was teaching history in eighth grade here at Scripps. And there was a history trivia contest, and his team lost, so I got to shave his head on the stage in front of all the eighth graders.
Teaching memory, I don't think I can limit it to just one memory. But if I was going to make a group, I think it would have to be field trips. Whether it was going to Lansing, testifying before a House subcommittee, picking up trash along Walden Road, salmon release, bear den checks, or the annual eighth grade canoe trip. I think those are my favorite
I'm
memories.
Kevin Stone, and I'm retiring this year. I have so many great memories of my time at LOHS. It's such an amazing school and community. But my favorite thing about LOHS will always be meeting my wife and creating our beautiful family that we have together. For that, I'll always be grateful and proud to be a Dragon.
One of my most memorable moments here in Lake Orion was in August of 1995. I arrived with several boxes for my elementary teaching, and I first met Eva Hall. She told me I could put my boxes at the back of the stage. When we arrived in September for teaching, I learned that I would be on a cart sharing classrooms with various teachers throughout the day.
Joyce Smith, and I retired from Lake Orion Community Schools. I have worked at Carpenter for 28 years. It's before and after school programs. Carpenter was like my second home and like a second family to me. I was there for 28 years. What I think I'm going to miss most are all the smiling faces in the morning coming in, and some sleepy ones too. I enjoyed the kids very much.
Favorite memories, but my most favorite and cherished memories are when former students come to visit me at school and tell me what they've been doing through the years. That really touches my heart. What I will miss about working at Lake Orion Schools is the people that I work with. We have a great team, and of course, I miss all the little faces that come to school every day. So I will miss the children.
There, that's better. What will I miss? I'll miss a lot of things, but above all, I'll miss the kids. Spent my whole time in 8th grade at Walden, and I wouldn't have taught anything different. They were frustrating, they were exasperating, but I think in the end they kept me young, and I wouldn't have traded it for anything. I'll miss the kids, definitely.
Some of the things I'm going to miss the most are participating in the pep assemblies, going to the games, the GAP activities that I've participated in, coaching, LOBL on Friday mornings, the Sea Lunch Crew. Through all these activities, I've just been able to build some amazing lifelong friendships and connections with both students and staff.
What I will miss most from Lake Orion Schools is the friends. Being able to talk with my colleagues about the students learning and teaching. So I say goodbye to Lake Orion Schools for now, and I'm on to my other favorite topic. Have a good summer, everyone.
What I'm going to miss about Lake Orion Community Schools is not just the students, the wonderful community. Our family has lived here for years. My children went here to Lake Orion Community Schools. I'm going to miss the kids, the staff, the whole community.
What I'm going to miss is my colleagues, the wonderful people I've worked with, and of course the kids. I'm going to really miss all the kids once I retire.
I'm going to miss all the teachers and staff and the great principals that I've had the privilege of knowing. Lake Orion really is a great school. That's where I grew up, and I'm going to miss all of you so much.
What am I going to miss the most? The camaraderie, the collaboration, the friendships, the people. I will miss you all.
Oh, well done, Mark. Thank you. And I'm sure I speak for the entire board when we send out our well wishes to all the retirees and wish them well in their new endeavors and thank them for everything they've done for the students, families, and the community. So again, thank you very much, and we wish you all the best. We'll move on to a communications update, Mark.
It's been a little while since we had this formal board meeting, so I'll just go through a couple of things that have happened since. Not a full good news, but the new, many of you were at the new ECC groundbreaking. It was a great event, so it was really well done. Frank Grewald and Sons did a great job of helping put that all together. So we really appreciated, all their help in there. And I think it's exciting that, we can look to the future and see all these construction projects going up. On that note, a lot of the bond construction projects continue, and we've been updating them on the website. If you look at the website, you can see all the different pictures and updates. If you saw the high school I think it was on the date of the original graduation, we had taken out an advertisement citing all of the graduates this year with all their names and everything. So if you missed that, it's on our website as well, and it's been through the community. So that was a exciting moment. Pine Tree Center, even though we've been in this period, they've been planning for this core opportunity. It's up on their playground, a place. It's like a core board where they can do some communication things, and that's really a unique thing that's been added and will be great once they're back there to use it. And today, we were informed by Julie Gutman that the special education staff received a above and beyond award. A number of special education staffers actually, and it's on our website as well. A little news story about, I think there was 7 or 8 of them who were honored by Oakland schools. So that's it. Any questions?
Questions for Mark? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mark. And we'll move on to public participation. I believe we have one item this evening. Birgit?
Yes, we do. The Board of Education is in receipt of an email from a community member by the name of Mrs. Kristen Berry. She's a parent and a local business owner. She sent us a flyer. Can you see that? It's about something that she created to honor our Lake Orion grads, and she was hoping she would have come to read it, but so I'm going to read you a bit of her flyer. It's a graduation parade to take place in downtown Lake Orion. All seniors can participate. It's this Saturday, June 27th at 11 a.m. If the graduates have apparently been sent an email, and the route, as far as I understand it, it starts at Blanche Sims, goes down Florence, down Flint to Broadway. They turn left and go on. There's some businesses that have been involved. I think she told me that Police Chief Rossman has been involved in helping set that up, and that the businesses have gotten involved by donating lunch or coupons for their restaurants so that students can circle back around and spend some time together locally downtown. So it's not a district sponsored event, but she actually, Kristen Berry tells me she organized this herself. So there you have it.
All right. Yes, Jake.
Yeah, just to clarify, if anyone's listening, the parade starts at 11. So the public, it's open. Everybody can come down and watch. Like you say, it's not district sponsored, but they will parade starting at 11 through town. But graduates are asked, come in the vehicle, bring someone to drive you if that's probably easier for you. But show up at Blanche Sims at 10 o'clock so that it can all get staged and the parade can actually start at 11. So there'll be people out there directing you where to go and whatnot so that everybody can get organized and the parade can start at 11.
All right. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to strategic area discussion items, and we'll begin with governance and Marion.
The first one is the MASB District Membership and Trust Fund. That's the School Boards Association. This is really kind of an annual thing that we do. I don't know if Birgit, she's been pretty involved with them. Is there anything that you want to add to that, Birgit? I don't think there's.
I just want to say I appreciate that we're part of MASB. We've utilized their services in many different ways, aside from attending some of their functions and classes, but also as a board leaning on them periodically in their legal department. So I appreciate that we're a part of it.
So that's pretty straightforward. Before I go into number 2, on the International Academy. John, I don't know if we want to talk a little bit about what's happening in the legislature right now with what Rick had alluded to earlier, which has to do with it's really not a bill, it's a plan for reopening schools that's coming out of the legislature. And I think we need to make sure that people understand what's going on. So John, you want to start off and then I'll jump in? Or
Yeah, there's actually two. There's actually a funding plan, and then their shot at reopening schools. So the refunding plan is really just a draft. There's no assigned number or anything on it. It's really centered around reallocating the CARES dollars the state got. And it was characterized as a showpiece that it doesn't have any real legs to it. It would be interesting if it did, but I wouldn't, we should not hold our breath waiting for that to help out on the money side. And then the plan side, I'm not as familiar with their plan. I mean, Rick, I think Rick, you had read through that already, but their approach is kind of almost perceived to be as to upstage what's coming on June 30th from the governor's task force in that regard.
there are a couple things on there that I want to make sure that people are aware of because it's what kind of came out as the thing, and that was that there would be an increase of $800 per student, as well as a $500, I guess you want to call it a stipend to all teachers. And again, I'm not quite sure where they think they're going to be getting this money. And I don't want people to count on that because that is really almost disingenuous. And I did receive something from my superintendent's association. There were a couple other things in there. One is that has to do with calendar and curriculum flexibility. One of the pieces of their plan does give a little bit of more local control to schools in terms of calendar and so forth. So the other one was about gathering data when assessments would take place and so forth. So stay tuned. I don't know where it's going. I think it was a surprise, quite frankly, ploy. Because the governor is supposed to come out with the 30th next week. So I don't want anybody, what is the old saying? Don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Right.
Birgit had something.
Yes, Birgit.
And I don't want to, John, if John was done, isn't done, I don't want to interrupt him. I guess he's done.
Yeah.
I received, as you all know, I'm part of the OCSBA Government Relations Committee, and we get regular communications at a minimum weekly from the lobbyists at Oakland schools. And I received a communications today about a legislative advocacy opportunity regarding a resolution that Senator Polanki from Livonia has presented, and it's regarding holding state assessments off next year. And it's a plea to the federal level as well. And my interest is not in actually talking to you about that today, but my wondering if you guys are interested in me sharing those emails with you when they come in with something like that. Could I forward those to Julie when they come in, and then she can distribute those to the board? Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, Marion.
Getting muted. You know, Birgit, as I leave, what might be helpful is to get the list of my legislative advocacy, the spreadsheet. Julie has all of those names. That might be something that you share with them as well. You know, there's over 100 and some people on that list, or at least share it with the new superintendent. So
I'd be happy to do that. Thank you.
Any questions legislative? Nothing in the sessions that are going on. This, like I said, was kind of a surprise, but there's nothing else that I think is hanging out there. Okay. All right, the next thing is the International Academy agreement that is on the agenda for the board to approve tonight. I want you to know that I am supportive of it being approved for all of the reasons. I don't think I need to rehash what I've shared with you in the past. I want you to know, though, that 8 of the 13 consortium districts have already, boards have already approved it, and it needed, in order for the agreements to be implemented, it required a majority of those boards approving these agreements. So it already has that over, with 8 out of the 13. The issue, though, that I wanted to share with you, I did send you an email. Birgit had a number of questions that I know are mirrored by Bloomfield Hills schools. I continue to say that Bloomfield Hills has a couple of board members, or a few board members, and perhaps one in West Bloomfield, that have been instrumental. They've even come to our board meetings, if you recall. They have been instrumental in not wanting this to go through. So it's a decision the board has to make, but I'm giving you my opinion and recommendation that our board join those 8. We would be number 9 in approving those agreements. So Birgit, I know you have a lot to say.
If I may, if you're okay with that, Jim.
Sure, go right ahead.
I have the utmost respect for you, Marion, and the work that you've done with the International Academy. And I have the utmost respect for the International Academy and for the opportunity it provides for our students that attend there. It's priceless. It's much needed. My issue I have is with the agreement itself. Something that struck me in your communication today that was interesting is, if I recall, I don't have it right in front of me, you indicated that if we were to vote no, and I don't know that that's the feel at all, but if a vote of no on the consortium agreement would withdraw us from the consortium.
No, that's not what that said.
No.
Oh, okay.
Vote no on the budget, that
Okay.
we would be withdrawn. And what our recommendation to the board is, when the budget does come to you, which you thought it did not come to the board, it does come to every board for approval. My recommendation is that, similar to what we have done in the past with other organization budgets, is to abstain. Abstaining would not remove us from the consortium or from our kids from the academy. But if we voted no on their budget, then our kids would not be able to, they'd be dropped. We would not be able to participate. So our recommendation, our meaning John and I, John has been integrally involved in the financial aspects of this agreement. He's made some recommendations to Bloomfield Hills directly, and they have made some changes to the agreement based on John's recommendations. John, I'll let you speak for yourself. I'm not talking about you as if you aren't here. And
that's okay. I'm good.
He made recommendations that were palatable to the consortium. I guess my issue is that this is not something that a group of superintendents decided that they were going to go and develop some agreement. We have had the services of Gary Collins, whom we all respect, and he has been integrally involved with the board. He has also been identified as one of our attorneys. So he has been involved in the development of these agreements as well. So,
and with all due respect to that, and I have I've rubbed shoulders with several other people, colleagues in other districts in the county, and there's a couple other districts that have had similar concerns. I know that Berkeley sought legal counsel. Several districts have not made a decision to market. It's interesting that there's already 8 districts. My part is leaning towards asking for another opinion from Clark Hill, just because of some issues that I've seen on it that one of the laws they cite that's supposed to go in with the schooling information in the contract is about housing. And so I just thought that a second look from Clark Hill would just make me feel much better. But I believe that, Marion, you were inclined not to do that. So I'm just putting it out there. That's my concern.
I believe this whole thing has been pretty thoroughly vetted, and now it's coming down to a matter of opinion. And I think for our board, we should rely on the opinion of council, and they've guided us to the point of recommending approval, if I'm not mistaken, Marion.
That's correct.
Okay, so I mean, if we engage council and they're studying the minutia of this, and they're guiding us to do so, I think, given the fact that it's already in the queue as approved, and I don't know that we're going to affect any change one way or another. However, it would be something we would want to monitor for further discussion, and I would ask you if you would be willing to do that to see the level of performance of the contract or the agreement that's already been approved by 8 school districts, thus approving it for the group, to see if there's something we need to revisit next year before we renew it. Would that be fair?
Here are the districts that have approved it already, and that is Huron Valley, Royal Oak, Troy, Waterford, South Lyon, Clawson, Rochester, and Avondale. Berkeley has indicated they're going to be voting on it in their July meeting. Birmingham and Bloomfield are going to be voting also at upcoming meetings. They didn't have one prior to this. But even without those, West Bloomfield, I'm sure, is not going to pass it. I shouldn't say I'm sure. The issue is that there's 1 or 2 board members, probably the ones that Birgit has spoken with, on each of those school boards who are really against this consortium agreement. Even without those that I said have not yet approved or disapproved, it's still a majority of the districts that have. And again, I just feel that we've invested so much time, not only as a board, but the superintendents in this consortium with meetings, and I can't tell you how many I've attended, and I've got another one tomorrow night in the development of this and rectifying some of the issues that were raised. And quite frankly, some of the issues that were initially raised, I agree with. One was that there were violations of the Open Meetings Act. That has clearly been rectified. We now post, not just us, but all of the districts. But here's something that has been running so well for so many years, and we've had such success. And as Birgit said, we certainly don't want to get rid of it, our participation. Right now we have 39 students. We have our space allocation is 10 per grade per year. So we could have 40. I'm not sure if somebody dropped out or whatever. Oftentimes we have waiting lists. So I don't believe that this board has any indication that they don't want to participate in the International Academy. The issue is the governance of it. I think this is a very good move in terms of having educational experts running the International Academy. So that's my feeling. I don't have to say anymore, but that's it.
But I'd like to go back to that thought of monitoring this. And would you be willing to do that and report back to the board the progress of this new agreement and update us, Birgit?
Birgit.
No, I'm not going to ask you back for that.
Thank you. The last thing I would want to do.
I'm not sure what that looks like, how to monitor that, but I'm willing to explore that.
Well, the other person that would be monitoring it would be your new superintendent.
Right.
And we've well versed in what I've talked about when I've done, when I do some transition. So he or she will know what's the history and have the opportunity to monitor, because that person will be one of the superintendents attending these meetings. So I'll make sure that that occurs as well.
Of course, that'll happen, but I was just thinking in terms of board concerns that Birgit does have occasion to talk with other board members, and if things should bubble up, that you would be able to bring that back to the board. Okay, that'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, Marion.
I think that was it.
Okay.
Those were my two issues. I do have some remarks, but I'll wait till the very end.
Questions for Marion on what we were just talking about with IA? Any other questions? Okay, thank you. So we'll go on to policy committee report, and
that's me.
We're good.
So tonight in your packets, we have the second reading for bylaws 100 and 0162.1, which are the board remote participation pieces. I think we've thoroughly covered it, but I'm happy to open it up for questions or concerns if anything's come up.
All right, hearing none. Are you, is that it, Birgit?
Oh, that's it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Board Self-Assessment Committee report. I believe it's back to you.
No, we have nothing to report at this time.
All right.
Thank you.
And then we'll move to student achievement. Heidi.
All right, good evening. A few updates this evening. The fall planning committee has had the opportunity to go through the survey results. As you recall, we surveyed staff, students, and families regarding the remote learning. And so those results can be found on the website. They were posted today. Mark also sent out a school messenger. I would like to thank all respondents. It was very helpful information. A few things to point out. I would like to summarize some of the parent comments. We did have an opportunity, as I said, the fall planning committee went through all of the comments, and these were the comments that certainly popped out several times across the board. So these are the things that we will be looking as we plan for fall. So from the parents, more daily structure, more teacher-led meetings, instruction in online format, teaching more new material, more rigor, make the work count toward the grade. I just want to clarify that one. Typically, we would do that. However, per the governor's direction, we were not allowed to. Students could certainly increase or improve their grade, but we could not, we had to make sure that the grade did not result in lowering. So we were kind of, we had to follow the rules on that. Moving forward, that would not be the case, of course. Use the same platform for all students. So that is something we're looking at, offering packets. And then smaller groups of students, particularly in Zoom meetings, which we used for elementary mainly. And then we looked at summary of student comments. Students liked the flexibility of doing assignments when they wanted. They liked the teacher videos. They enjoyed the creativity and they felt more open-ended than normal. Less stress. Being able to see and interact with their friends online. Missing the social aspect of school. Missing the lack of individualized teacher support and help. Many said, I could not stay motivated. I was easily distracted and it was hard to stay on task. I felt uncomfortable to talk on Zoom. Inconsistency between teachers with the amount of work assigned. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is that more than likely, as we get closer to the 2020-2021 school year starting, we will be conducting another survey to gain more feedback, because obviously surveys, right, are conducted when they're conducted in that period of time, they're under those circumstances. So I will be looking to send out another survey as we ramp up for school to begin. But again, those were the summary of results. The graphs and things are on the website, and we are using this information to plan. Speaking of that, our fall planning committee, they will continue to meet a minimum of weekly throughout the summer. As several have already spoke, there are several proposals that are being introduced by legislators yesterday. Still nothing solid yet. We're expecting, as you know, to hear from the governor next week, and hopefully that will provide us with some more details. But at the end of the day, the district, by the time school begins, will have a fully developed pandemic protocol. So moving forward, we have protocols for, all of our safety drills and things like that. Well, now we'll have a pandemic protocol that, should we happen to need it, those plans will be fully developed and we would just need to execute those. I also have spoken to you regarding our Dragon virtual planning committee. I have stated before that regardless of how we start in fall, we will have some families that will be interested for one reason or another, that their student may need to attend virtually. And so we will be developing a virtual program. Invitations were sent to all teachers last week to submit if they were interested in this committee for the development of this program. I'm happy to say that we had many, many interested, so that was awesome. A committee was selected and they will meet for the first time this week on Friday. And again, the purpose of the committee is to research, develop, and we will be implementing Dragon Virtual. The flipped classroom, that will be another area where tomorrow we are having a professional development day for coaches. Carrie and I will be studying the flipped classroom, so I'll be bringing more information to that. And then admin will be trained as well. It is a delivery model that we can use regardless of which way we start in the fall. However, if we go remote, that will be a delivery model that will be required. And so we'll be learning about that. Professional development, our coaches will be developing professional development regarding, as I said, the flipped classroom, along with several topics dealing with online teaching. The PD will be offered this summer and then prior to the start of the school year. Craig Scone and Kelsey Glynn just ran 23 training sessions for elementary and middle school teachers as they got their new laptops. So a lot of happy teachers with their new laptops. And then Craig and several teachers will be working on interactive flat panel training to provide to Carpenter and Orion Oak staff. If you recall, elementaries will be getting smart boards upon construction. And so our first two buildings are Carpenter and Orion Oak. So we're really excited about that. In your packets this evening, there is a memo regarding Title III. Every year, the board has to approve for us to apply for Title III funds. So that is in your packet. And then moving on, bond update. A week ago, the Paint Creek Design Committee met. They spent significant time. We're getting into the finer details now of looking at staff mailboxes, location of casework. We also discussed regarding Paint Creek, the outside front area of the building. Where the office will be moving, I don't know if you recall, but there are columns in front of some of the windows at Paint Creek. And so we have been having discussions and dealing with those columns. They will need to be not taken out, but they will be reduced so that the sight line is improved for the main office area. Regarding Stadium Drive, They, again, much like Paint Creek, are working on some of the fine details of casework, staff mailboxes, all of those sorts of things. Stadium Drive, we've been also talking extensively about adjusting their parking lot. Again, if you recall, the first part of their construction will deal with the main office, but then we'll come back a year after and pick up the STEM area. So theirs is a phase approach. So we're working out all of those details as to how that will all come together. And then for furniture, our elementary pilot classrooms, they've actually been switched. And so our pilot teachers will come back in the fall to new furniture that they will test. And then decisions will be made in October, November. And all elementary furniture will be implemented in fall 2021. Our secondary furniture, we're working with the designers right now regarding the pilot packages. And soon I will be calling a meeting for those secondary pilot teachers in July. That pilot furniture will arrive in December, and then we'll continue just like we did at elementary. It's just a year later. Will continue in the fall of 2021, and their implementation of their furniture will occur in fall of 2022. Technology, lots of things happening in the technology area. New staff and student devices. In June, we received and deployed 550 plus staff laptops. We also received and placed 500 new staff monitors. We've received 4,100 student devices. They have been ordered and expected delivery in mid to late July. And then Carpenter and Orion Oaks have several projects going on right now. Their paging system, their clocks, we're reviewing placement and wiring. Their smart boards, we actually have them in stock. They're at the warehouse. We had a meeting this week to determine the height at which those smart boards would be placed. And then we are working right now with the construction to coordinate the installation dates of those smart boards. Also, each classroom will be receiving sound systems. I'm very excited about this. So reviewing the placement of the panel box and the wiring in each classroom. And then we will be working on cabling demo. All of the old cabling that is hanging, it seems to be everywhere, will be removed if it's not being used. And then we do have security projects going. So we have servers that are being installed in our data center. Also, video camera installation is in progress at our 3 middle schools. Walden is near completion. Scripps, Oakview, and Pine Tree Center are next on the docket. And then we're working with construction regarding Orion Oaks, Carpenter, and Weber. So those will come next when it's safe to install the cameras there. And then we are also working with transportation and their radio systems. A kickoff meeting was held. Technology agreements were signed, and we'll be reviewing the placement of dispatch controls. And so we're working with Pam on that. So a lot of exciting things in the bond world, and in particularly technology. So I think that's it.
Questions for Heidi? Yes, Birgit.
Hi, Heidi. I have a few questions for you. Early on, when you started, you referred to a fall planning committee. I'm curious to know if there are parents or community members that are involved in that committee.
There are not at this point in time, no. There will be at some point, but right now we're trying to work on the whole academic piece.
Okay. And later on, you touched on Dragon Virtual. And I'm just curious because I know the ISD has I think it's a K-8 virtual. Is there any collaboration that can go on for our benefit there, or is that you're trying to do something completely on your own?
Right now, that decision has not been made. That is a decision that will go before the committee, and they'll be making that decision. You know, we're working on, my preference would be that it would be our teachers, our curriculum, like Orion. I just don't know if the number that we end up in the end, if that's going to be efficient. And so that's what the planning committee will have to wrestle with. But it would be best to have, like I said, our teachers, our curriculum, our plan.
Sure. That makes sense.
And not use a third vendor, a vendor.
Right.
Third party.
Right. I think I know that's a huge undertaking. You know, there's a lot of work to plan a virtual full curriculum. And just thought maybe that was something that would help in the interim, even if you're planning a full curriculum, if that isn't something helpful for you. My last question is about the furniture pilots. And you had said something about when they come back in fall, the classes, it's rotated. I think you said flip, but they're rotated to the other classes for it. What happens if we're not back? Is the pilot able to be extended?
We'll have to determine that when. Okay. I don't know at this point in time, honestly.
Fair enough.
We're on a schedule. I really don't know, and hopefully we will be able to be back at least for some portion of the time. That's my hope.
Amen.
So that decision is too early to be made.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, other questions for Heidi? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Heidi. Go to the curriculum committee report. No report this evening, I don't think. No, okay, thank you. Lamp of Learning Committee report.
No report this evening.
Thank you.
I'm going to give a brief update, if you don't mind. It's a little bit of a review from what we talked about in our last meeting, which has already been 3 weeks ago, even though we've had a lot of meetings since then. As you all know, there is no ceremony for the seniors for honors and no senior honors and awards this year. The high school has asked us to distribute our awards and the graduation packets. Julie will be working with the high school to do that. The award that the high schoolers, that the seniors have earned will be noted. I believe I'm getting this right, Julie, correct me if I say something wrong. Will be noted in the graduation program, and she's created a brief note that will accompany the award that will be placed in the envelope that the students will be receiving upon graduation. Get that? And then, of course, for the fall, there's tabulating, and as the date has already gone by, for returning high school students, final grades are stored by the 15th. Julie will process that data after that, and invites will be mailed out in the fall for the ceremony should we be back to business as usual. For middle school students, we will be using grades for the first semester, and she'll process that data soon, and the invites for that will also be emailed out in the fall for the ceremonies as well. If we are still learning remotely in the fall, we'll have to discuss an alternate plan for distribution. That's it.
All right, thank you. On to human resources. Rick.
Thank you, Jim. We'll start with number one here, and that is the recommendation for hire of our new food service director. As you know, earlier tonight, we mentioned and honored our current food service director, Marla, who is riding off into the sunset into retirement. You do have before you the recommendation to hire Monica Kaplan. Her resume is attached, so I know you've had the opportunity to review it. But just briefly, she comes to us with significant experience, a variety of experience and background, both as a food service director in a district not as large as ours, but certainly close, and in most recently in the Flint area, servicing all of the Catholic schools in the area. She also spent time with the state as a consultant and worked with them on some of the regulations and so forth. So we're pleased to have her. It was a strong candidate pool, And in the end, cabinet, we interviewed her as well as some others, and she rose to the top as the top candidate. I think she's gonna be a great fit for us. She's already got on board with us. She's been working with Marla now for a little while. I know John's had a chance to go over and meet with them a little bit and talk with them. She joined us for our leadership meeting last week, so we're happy to have her.
All right, questions for Rick? All right, hearing none, thank you, Rick. Do you have anything else tonight?
No, I'll save the rest for closing comments.
Okay, thank you. I know we haven't had a superintendent evaluation committee meet, so there's no report there. Superintendent search, their virtual site visits tomorrow and Friday, with next Monday being a review of the process. And we'll move on to finance. John.
Thank you. On the agenda is the second reading of this fiscal 20's final amendment. There is one revision to it. We've added the recognition of a $600 per pupil reduction. It's about a 4.4 overall $1 million reduction. In terms of the resulting revenue base, it now becomes $80,036,047. Total expenditures remains at $84,386,414. So in terms of the actual operating deficit, it shows as a deficit of $4,350,367 and a projected fund balance of $3,394,000 and $3,394,034. And our fund balance percent 4%. The logic behind that is, as we've talked a little earlier about, the condition of the school aid fund. From a practical point of view, whether it's the Republican draft bill or any further conversation coming down the road here near their existing law requires a school aid fund, if it ends in deficit, to require a proration or negative budget supplementation. So I'm fully expecting something of that nature to occur in August. Roughly in the neighborhood of 4.4 million. If they end up using some rainy day money to reduce some of that, it might be less. But taking a conservative position in terms of the district, I'd rather prepare for the worst and hope for the best on that one. Any questions on that approach, or I know everybody.
Questions for John? Okay, John, go ahead.
This brings us to the proposed adopted budget for this coming year for fiscal 2021. I do have I'll do a quick review of the underlying assumptions that build it. Of course, the largest single impacting assumption is the school aid fund. So, in the overriding approach to next year's budget is to try and get to a balanced situation so we don't completely devastate our fund balance. So within that context, we'll be starting out with a foundation allowance in the neighborhood of $7,929 per student. And again, assumption that the starting fund balance is about 3.94 million. And we are again targeting property sales. How that goes through the course of this year, God only knows with respect to markets and things of that. But there's no budgeting for revenues in the adopted budget for you. If something is concluded within the year, it would of course be amended in and added to the fund balance. So from a property, from a key revenue assumption point of view, all property taxes are assumed to increase about almost 4.5% based on growth in the township. There is one caveat to that. There is a set of House bills that seem to be going a little scarily fast. That is House Bill 5761, House Bill 5810. 5761 provides relief to taxpayers affected by the COVID shutdown. What that means practically is they'll be extending or allowing, if you file as a taxpayer, whether you're a private individual or business, an affidavit saying you are going to have trouble paying your taxes as a result of the COVID world, and you attest to that through this affidavit, you will fall into a bucket where you are basically extended the time frame to pay that. the thinking is that, the thinking of the people writing that bill is that they're trying to provide relief for a situation could be potentially crippling for any businesses trying to get back on their feet. House Bill 5810 is the, kind of the counter to that, or kind of the correlation to that says, because they're expecting a large increase in delinquent taxes, which is normally funded when delinquent taxes occur in a given year, they're basically sold off to the county, and the county makes us whole. As of June, this coming June of 2021, they would make that whole. The goal of 5810 is to accelerate that process and try and targeting making districts, actually anybody, any tax recipient, tax levying agency, whether it's a township, district, or city government, give them the funding related to delinquent taxes sometime in December. So they are trying to figure out a mechanism to move it up. My concern with the combination of the bills is that there seems to be a belief on those putting the bill forward, particularly related to the relief side of it, that by having people sign an affidavit, that only people who are in critical condition will actually do it. Just to quote a line out of business books in college, Business 101, if you have an opportunity as a business to put off paying taxes under any conditions, you do it. The affidavit itself will be predicated on your individual assumption that you're going to not be able to make this payment on time, i.e. a forecast. And when you sign an affidavit about a forecast, it's an automatic get out of free jail card. If you really need it, people will, in my view, will be very liberal in their forecasting and will accelerate or multiply our delinquencies. I'd expect higher delinquencies this year in the tax world because of COVID's impact. I think this will accelerate it by 20-fold. So my position is I'm opposed to them. If they can come up with a means to where they can accelerate the refunding of the delinquent piece, and not in December, but October or September, we could get on board with it. The problem with December is our debt bills, debt service is due November 1. And I don't think they've thought through the fact that many, many districts issue debt under the state's credit rating that's known as qualified debt. And if we all go delinquent on them, the state's going to go delinquent. They're going to be ripped down in terms of their credit rating. And everybody knows how sensitive the state is about that these days. So I don't think they've thought it through. Conceptually, I can get on board with it if they make some changes that actually provides funding much sooner than December. But if they don't, then to me, we're just incentivizing a bigger delinquent situation. So that's just the first assumption. So that's just going to compound. So the earlier a couple of meetings back, the board approved the resolution for a state aid note. If these bills pass, the use of that state note became a whole lot likelier. So I'll keep you up to speed on that too if we go down that route. But in terms of the other key revenue side revenue calculations, it's really driven by student counts. We've got a built-in assumption that we're literally doubling what we thought we'd have in terms of student decline. And we talked a little bit about this in finance subcommittee too. We took a quantitative approach to something that really could be ranging all over the board. So this is just the dart that we decided to land on. So it's a roughly double, about 120 decline that we had been planning on. It could be more, it could be less. And it falls back into basically every other scenario that ties to this coming COVID school rule. So, but in this document that's before the board tonight, there's 118 FTE decline, which is almost twice as much as we originally were thinking. So in terms of this, the school aid side of it, we've touched on that quite a bit already. It's going to be dependent upon what goes on in the school aid fund and all the things that feed in. So we have continued to move forward with the budget as a reduced foundation allowance to the district, which leads us to the expenditure side of the adopted budget. Built into this budget, there are multiple budget reductions that are based on really targeted areas and targeted concepts, similar to what was earlier talked about in terms of concept of ways to cut costs, whether it be a different some form of layoff, some form of wage negotiation, things of those nature. There's multiple identification adjustments to positions and or position reductions built in on assumptions. And in total, there's about $5.2 million in reductions. So adding the two together with an anticipated student decline, a reduced foundation allowance, and then these kinds of budgetary changes, it's all in all, that's what before you was a balanced budget. It's got a very small surplus. Again, it's one of those situations that if a situation moves an eyelash to the left or right of expectation, a small surplus becomes a deficit. So at this point, the goal was to get big picture outlines and plans in place to fine tune as we get a better understanding of what really is the economic side of the economic damage of the school aid fund, what funding really looks like, and what the kid counts really look like. So this is really is an adopted budget. It's the opening salvo. We typically have 2 amendments through a typical year. We may be having more this year, depending upon when the knowledge, refined knowledge comes available. I'd be more than happy to address questions. I know it's a lot to be putting out, but it's a conservative position to take on the assumption that we will have a reduction in funding, and a conservative position of we will address that reduction to protect what's left of the fund balance world and not exasperate that piece.
Okay, questions for John? It's a lot of materials and it's about as firm as warm Jell-O. So
there you go.
It's very hard to get a real grasp of it until we know more of what's coming down the road.
Mm-hmm.
All right, no questions? All right, Jen.
Okay, also at the on the action items, it's that time of the year. If you remember, the annual authorization of legal and financial agents of record and operational delegation. It happens annually. It's the board's responsibility in terms of resolute approval for those such items in terms of check authorization processes, as well as our agents of record, whether there be legal or accounting and things like that, as listed in the actual recommendation on the back of the board packet. Any questions on that one?
Looks like no questions. Pretty standard stuff.
And then the last item, there is a bid award. It's through our CHI preferred partner in terms of devices. It's really docking stations for a number of devices. And let me grab my notes on that one. I want to say this is the last thing. There is 375 docking stations, approximately $122 a piece. That's being purchased in this process. It's off of CHI's cooperative bidding agreement with the adjustments made through our separate negotiations. Be happy to handle any questions on that. It's fully bond funded.
Okay. Questions? I think yes, Mark.
Just to supplement what John had to say, we released in our communication last week from Marion at the end of the week that there's a discount program for everyone in the community to buy discounted devices for their families if they're interested. It was in the communication, and we'll share it again.
Great, that's helpful. Thank you for the reminder. All right. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We're going to go on the Finance Committee report. Jake.
Well, the Finance Committee met on Monday. Much of it was to talk about the budgets that you saw, the final amendment to this year's budget, explaining the rationale as he did for the large revenue cut to reflect that as expected this year. And then the budget for next year, the budget has been prepared to expect the worst. You saw where our fund balance will end this year at about 3.4 million, which is only 4% of our expenditures. So their goal was to not get caught flat-footed, that something comes that would drive us into a situation where the fund balance cannot drop below zero. We're not allowed to borrow money, and that brings the rest of the point that we want to make is we're not allowed to borrow money. We can use our fund balance And we will still collect our sinking fund. We will still collect our debt service levy, but as was presented when those funds were passed by voters, they cannot go to be used for operating costs. So at the time when people were wondering, oh well, they're going to divert that money, there is no mechanism under state law that allows those funds to be redirected from the bond or sinking fund to compensate for a loss of operating funds. So this is proof that what was explained during those elections is holding. So that money for sinking fund will go to capital projects. You're seeing bond projects go on. Those are things that the voters have passed, and that money still exists, and those projects will continue. So any questions or
questions for Jake? Okay. Between John and Jake, I think we got the picture. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to facilities liaison report. Scott?
There is no report. John, we should probably get something on the calendar for the next week or so.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Plan with dam burn things and be able to bring the board up to speed.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll want to hear about that, the twists and turns we have ahead on maintaining clean buildings and sterile buildings. Move on to interim superintendent discussion. You've all been made aware of the motion tonight, and that would be to designate Rick Arnott as the superintendent designee for a period up to 30 days, and that would begin effective July 1. And this is a measure to be in compliance with the requirement of having a superintendent in place, and we are in this transition period. Rick has his own job to do, but if the occasion comes up where he has to wear that other hat, he would be the go-to person for that. So that's basically what we're talking about here, and it requires nothing more than a motion during the action items and approval by the board, and we'll take that up during the action items. Any questions? All right, thank you. So that being said, let's go on to the action items, and we'll begin. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the following consent agenda items. Approve payment of the May bills in the amount of $6,802,476.79. Approve minutes from the June 3rd, 2020 regular meeting, the May 26th, 2020 Finance Committee meeting, the May 29th, 2020 Policy Committee meeting, the June 4th, 2020 Curriculum Committee meeting, the June 8th, 2020 special meeting and closed session, the June 15th, 2020 special meeting, the June 16th, 2020 special meeting, the June 17th, 2020 special meeting, the June 18th, 2020 special meeting, and the June 18th, 2020 Bond Committee meeting.
Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Julie?
Mr. Butkey? Oh, I still have no sound on. Can you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Yes, did it work?
Here we go. Mr. Dracos?
Yes.
Ms. McQuiston?
Yes.
Ms. Marmel?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Weedman?
Yes. Motion is approved, and we will move on to have a motion to authorize the 2020-2021 MASB District Membership and Trust Fund.
I move that we authorize the 2020-21 Michigan Association of School Boards District Membership and Legal Trust Annual Renewal Contribution as presented.
Is there support?
Yes, support.
All right, thank you. We've already covered this, so Julie?
Mr. Buckey?
Yes.
Mr. Drakos?
Yes.
Ms. McQuiston?
Yes.
Ms. Marmel?
Yes.
Mr. Stinger?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Weedman?
Yes. Motion to authorize the 2020-2021 MASB District Membership and Trust Fund is approved. May I have a motion to adopt the International Academy Governing Body Resolution?
I move to adopt the International Academy Governing Body Resolution as presented.
Is there support?
I support that.
Thank you. We've already fully discussed this, so Julie, please.
Mr. Buckey?
Yes.
Mr. Drakos?
Yes.
Ms. McQuiston?
Yes.
Ms. Marmel?
Yes.
Mr. Stinger?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Weedman?
Yes. The motion to adopt the International Academy Governing Body Resolution is approved. May I have a motion to adopt the International Academy Consortium Agreement Resolution?
I move that we adopt the International Academy Consortium Agreement Resolution as presented. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. We've discussed this, so Julie, please.
Mr. Buckey?
Yes.
Mr. Drakos?
Yes.
Ms. McQuiston?
No.
Ms. Marmel?
Yes.
Mr. Stinger?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Weedman?
Yes. Thank you. So the motion to adopt International Academy Consortium Agreement Resolution is approved. May I have a motion to approve policy revisions and board operating procedure revisions?
I move that we approve the proposed revisions for board bylaws 0100 and 0162.1, as well as proposed revisions to the board operating procedures as presented.
Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Julie, please.
Mr. Buckey?
Yes.
Mr. Drakos?
Yes.
Ms. McQuiston?
Yes.
Marmel?
Yes.
Mr. Stinger?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Weedman?
Yes. The motion to approve policy revisions and board operating procedure revisions is approved. May I have a motion to authorize for authorization for Title III?
I move that we authorize Lake Orion Community Schools to apply for Title III funds as recommended.
Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Julie, please.
Mr. Buckey?
Yes.
Mr. Drakos?
Yes.
Ms. McQuiston?
Yes.
Ms. Marmel?
Yes.
Mr. Stinger?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Weedman?
Yes. Motion for authorization for Title III is approved. May I have a motion to appoint food service director?
I move that we appoint Monica Kaplan to the position of food service director as recommended.
Is there support?
I support that.
Thank you. Julie?
Mr. Buckey?
Yes.
Mr. Drakos?
Yes. Thank you.
Ms. McQuiston?
Yes.
Ms. Marmel?
Yes.
Mr. Stinger?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Weedman?
Yes. The motion to appoint food service director is approved. Welcome. May I have a motion to adopt the 2019-2020 final budget amendment resolution?
I move that we adopt the fiscal year 2020 final budget amendment resolution as presented.
Is there support?
I support that.
Thank you. Julie, please.
Mr. Buckey?
Yes.
Mr. Drakos?
Yes.
Ms. McQuiston?
Yes.
Ms. Marmel?
Yes.
Mr. Stinger?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Weedman?
Yes. Motion to adopt the 2019-2020 final budget amendment resolution is approved. May I have a motion to adopt the 2020-2021 budget resolution?
I move that we adopt the fiscal year 2021 adopted budget resolution as presented.
Is there support?
Support.
Julie?
Mr. Bucky,
Yes.
Mr. Dracos,
Yes.
Mr. Quiston,
Yes.
Ms. Marmel,
Yes.
Mr. Stinger,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Weedman.
Yes. Motion to adopt the 2020-2021 budget resolution is approved. May I have a motion for authorization of legal and financial agents of record and operational delegation?
Okay, you all can sit back for a few minutes. I move that we authorize legal and financial agents of record and operational delegation to A, authorize establishing the following law firms to represent the school district: Clark Hill Attorneys at Law, Collins and Blaha, PC, Lusk and Albertson, PLC, Miller Canfield, PLC, and Seacrest Wardle in the Adair case. B, legal depository adopt as follows. Be it resolved that the PNC Bank is hereby designated as a primary depository of monies belonging to said school district in the Township of Orion, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, and that monies belonging to said school district shall be deposited in said bank from time to time in the name of the school district and may be withdrawn by check, ACH, or wire signed or authorized by the board treasurer, the board president, the superintendent, or the assistant superintendent of business and finance. C, authorize establishing the following banks, investment brokers, and local government investment pools as designated depositories for the school district: Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase Bank, Comerica Bank, Fifth Third Bank, Flagstar Bank, Merrill Lynch, the Myloff Plus Fund, PNC Bank, and Oxford Bank. D, authorize signing of checks for the general fund, debt retirement, trust and agency funds, food service fund, community service fund, building and site fund, capital projects funds, school activity funds, and payroll by the superintendent or the assistant superintendent of business and finance, with the stipulation that checks be required to have one signature. E, authorize the superintendent or the assistant superintendent of business and finance to sign for letters of credit on behalf of the school district. F, authorize establishing the accounting firm of Plant and Moran, PLLC, as the school district's auditing firm. And G, delegate election duties to the superintendent and the election secretary.
Thank you. Is there support?
I support it.
Thank you. Julie, please.
Mr. Bucky,
Yes.
Mr. Dracos,
Yes.
Mr. Quiston,
Yes.
Marmel,
Yes.
Mr. Stinger,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Weedman.
Yes. Motion to for authorization of legal and financial agents of records and operational delegation is approved. May I have a motion to authorize technology bid award?
I move that we authorize administration to execute the purchase of laptop docking stations through CEHE Computer Products Incorporated in the amount of $45,750 as presented.
Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Julie, please.
Mr. Bucky,
Yes.
Mr. Dracos,
Yes.
Mr. Quiston,
Yes.
Ms. Marmel,
Yes.
Mr. Stinger,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Weedman.
Yes. Motion to authorize technology bid award is approved. May I have a motion to appoint superintendent designee?
I move that we appoint Rick Arnett to the position of superintendent designee beginning July 1st for up to 30 days.
Is there support?
I support that.
All right. Any conversation? All right. Julie, please.
Mr. Butke,
Yes.
Mr. Dracos,
Yes.
McQuiston,
Yes.
Brumell,
Yes.
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Weedman.
Yes. The motion to appoint superintendent designee is approved. All right, so we're on to recap and next steps. I don't hear any.
That's because I don't have any.
That's right. All right, let's go to closing comments. And if you'll all stay in your places, I'll remember to go to all of you. Don't move around on my screen here. All right. So we'll start with Rick.
Yeah, just briefly, as we prepare for a return to school, as I've mentioned to you before, we do have a committee that's been working and preparing ourselves from a safety standpoint, but also being fiscally responsible and not just running out and starting to purchase things that we may or may not need. But I do think it's important for you and for the public to realize that we have purchased a lot of items in preparation for the school year to begin in the event that we do need them. Run some numbers by you real quick. We are now in possession of over 50 touchless thermometers. Many are being used already this summer for our summer activities. We have a stockpile of over 50,000 face masks at this point, 350 face shields, 300 units or 300 bottles of the disinfectant spray that we originally purchased for the buses. We have 300 units of those. We've ordered stickers for directional stickers and so forth. The plexiglass desk shields that you see in a lot of businesses, we have those ready for main office areas where we may entertain visitors. We've got over 400 gallon jugs of hand sanitizer, 100 cases of vinyl gloves, and many more things. We continue to prepare, but as I said, we don't want to overexpend when we may or may not need some of those items. I'm going to touch base with Clear to Go. Some of you have used that. It's our screening, health screening that we're utilizing with our employees, and we've expanded that to our summer activities for students. And we currently have, as of this morning, over 700 students in the system, those who are showing up for various activities, athletics, band, others. They do a daily screening through an app, at which time when they show up to their activity, they can present what is called a badge to the person in charge of that activity who sees that they come to them symptom-free at that time. And we also then do a temperature screening for them. We're preparing, we're utilizing this in the event that that may very well be a possibility that we would have to do if we are back to face-to-face instruction with all students and all employees. So this is a good trial run for us. We've worked out a lot of bugs. We've been working with the developer on customizing it for our needs. Have a couple more changes coming out here in the next couple of days to the app. So we're pleased about that as well.
That it, Rick?
That's it.
Thank you. All right, Heidi?
Yep, just a congratulations to all of our retirees. Thank you so much for your dedication, and I wish all of you the best in your retirement, including you, Marion, although we've got a few more days, so that's it.
All right, thank you, Heidi. John?
I just want to say welcome to Monica, welcome to the team, and I do want to take this opportunity to thank Marion for the last 10 years of her leadership, wisdom, and experience. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Marion, would you like to speak now or? Okay, all right, I'll wait.
Asked if possible.
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Nate.
Congratulations, best wishes. Thank you to Marion and all of our retirees. Your service is inspiring and admirable. Thank you and all the best to you.
Thank you, Nate. Steve?
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to echo Nate's comments and Heidi's comments and congratulate all our retirees. And Ms. Ginopolis, wish you the very best and hopefully please stay in touch with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Dana?
Hi, yeah, I want to thank all of our retirees for their countless hours and service to our students. I want to especially thank Marion for her service and dedication. Marion, you probably don't remember, but 100 years ago when I was in college, I met you. You were the superintendent in Oxford, and I was applying to be a substitute teacher.
Did I hire
And I was, yeah, and this is when the HR department hired you back then. And so you were there and you wanted to meet me because you wanted to meet all the new people coming in. And you had told me the story of how you started out as a school secretary and you just kept going to school and working your way and working your way. And I thought that was so admirable to do that and to have goals and then to be at the level that you're at now. I know that you've been a very hard worker your whole life. I know that your husband has worked tirelessly owning his own business. I truly think you guys both are getting out at the right time, business owner and education. And I really wish you the best of health. I wish you a wonderful retirement. I hope you get to spend time with those adorable grandbabies and maybe travel, open up soon, and you can do some of that stuff. So truly the best of everything to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana. Jake?
Yeah, I also, of course, want to thank all of our retirees from all the different fields. It's always amazing to hear how many people we have in all the different roles impacting our students. And I want to wish Marion, of course, a happy second retirement. You tried it once before, but I think this one's for keeps, right? So enjoy your time with your friends, your family. I wish you the best of health. The changes that you implemented in this district over the last 10 years, the improvement by building a great team and growing everything. My family benefited from it. My kids went through the schools basically under your leadership, and I'm just so happy that you were there to provide them everything, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jake. Scott?
Well, everybody knows that I like to give Marion a hard time, and she's one of my favorite people. So I got a picture made of us so she'll never forget our cruises down through downtown Lake Orion.
The convertibles, I will never forget.
I mean, this is perfect. It'll go right over your dining room table, you know.
I want to make sure that you wash it with hand sanitizers and all of that first, though.
Well, I figured I'd ship it to you and you can let it sit for a couple weeks.
I love it. Thank you, Scott.
So I wrote something too, but I'm going to hide behind the picture because I'm a sap, you know. Marion Ginopolis, educator. She has dedicated over 50 years of her life educating children, serving students as a school secretary, teacher, staff trainer, principal, human resource director, assistant superintendent, and superintendent, not to mention professional tweeter, snow angel maker, most popular person on a snow day, and the butterfly whisperer.
Oh, geez.
Marion has always been praised for being an approachable leader by all that worked with her. I had the opportunity to work closely with Mrs. Ginopolis during my tenure as board president, and we dealt with some very difficult situations that sometimes turned into quite spirited conversations. But we always came back to what's best for kids. Marion always analyzed the data, the dollars, the public ramifications, but in the end, she always did what was best for kids, and I will always applaud that. Marion has been a joy for our family. One example is my daughter, Natalie, had the opportunity to job shadow her for the day during her freshman year at Lake Orion. Natalie immediately asked Marion if she could shadow her, and Marion did not hesitate to answer yes. They had a very good relationship because Natalie would always send Marion texts as long as there was a quarter-inch of snow on the ground. She had to let her know, hey, Marion, there's snow here. Natalie said she loved to be around her because she just cares about kids and what they have to say. When Marion would visit Evelyn's school, she always made it a point to find her, and all of her classmates would say, is that your grandma? And Abby would answer, no, dude, that's the boss. Marion and Johnny's charitable contributions to Children's Hospital have not been spoken of in the school setting, but I am so impressed by their caring and generosity to support sick kids. Thank you, Marion, for being available 9 years ago to help for a little while. Thank you for your leadership of our staff and caring for our children. Thank you for participating and being a pillar of our community. Thank you for doing what is right for kids. And thank you for always, always being a dragon.
Thank you, Scott. That was very lovely.
Thank you, Scott.
Is that on the back of that picture?
It is.
Oh, good.
Great, thank you. And we've had 2 requests to speak out of sequence. Birgit asked to go last from the board, so I just want to share a couple thoughts. In November of 2010, Lake Orion Schools had the unexpected departure of the superintendent to another school district. As a result, we were in immediate need of an interim superintendent. Our newest board member, who was recently appointed to the board, Mr. Steve Dracos, offered he knew of someone who we may want to consider. She had been the superintendent in Oxford, where he served on the board there. As a result, Mrs. Marion Ginopolis agreed to help us out for a short time. Following a committee meeting in January of 2011, I was chatting with then President Mary Jo Burchart about what the next steps would be for our superintendent search. As we finished our conversation, she said, "Do you think Marion would consider staying on permanently?" And well, did she ever? We can talk about the great test scores, the innovative programs, sound financial condition, successful sinking fund and school bond, legislative outreach to affect positive change for education, and so many more examples. But it was really about the people. Marion built a tremendous team that extended to all corners of the district, just as she did, being always present in all corners of the district. You succeed with successful people, and Marion always helped people to be more successful, and did it with class, grace, respect, and the resulting trust. This community is fortunate that Marion Ginopolis agreed to be our interim superintendent. The story couldn't have turned out any better. So, Steve and Mary Jo, thanks for your ideas. They really worked out well. Marion, on behalf of the many thousands of students' lives and their families you touched in one way or another, the many hundreds of district staff in so many roles, the Lake Orion community, and the Board of Education, we thank you for all you've done for our community. You are leaving a mighty big pair of shoes in Julie's office for the next superintendent. We wish you well in the next step in life's adventure, and we know after seeing you in action, there will be many more adventures. Thank you for everything, and we wish you well.
Thank you, Jim.
Birgit?
Okay, it's my turn. I do want to recognize all the retirees. Their impact in the school district is priceless. And I do welcome our new food service director, Ms. Kaplan. But Marion, I wrote a story for you. Once upon a time, there was a need for a great leader for Lake Orion Community Schools. The school district was in the middle of a bond campaign, in the middle of the 2010-11 school year, and in the middle of the MHSAA football playoff season, and the Dragons were doing extraordinarily well. The Board of Education offered an experienced and seasoned superintendent the position of interim superintendent on November 10th of 2010. Marion Ginopolis started her work on Monday, November 22nd. It was a remarkable week in Lake Orion, not only because she began her career as a Dragon, but also because that Saturday, November 27th, the Dragons took the field, Ford Field to be exact, and they won the Division I football state championship. What a day. What a week. What a season. Mrs. Ginopolis had no idea that her season in Lake Orion had only just begun. She was quoted in the Lake Orion Review saying, "While I may only be in Lake Orion a short period of time, I don't plan to be idle." And idle she was not. On March 9th of 2011, the Board of Education awarded interim superintendent Marion Ginopolis a 2-year contract. And the next morning, the designation of interim was removed from her name on the website. At this point, she was all in. She had become one of us, and not temporarily. And so she began breathing fire into the district. What happened over the next several years was a process that only solid leadership could undertake and manage. How does one even begin to explain the depth of work needed to manage the budget trials and tribulations that she inherited and that the district has faced over the years, or the challenges from the state legislature, the challenges from the Department of Education with standardized testing, or your incredible outreach to help our students embrace mental health in a new way so as to battle the issues of teen suicide? I say, Superintendent Marion Ginopolis, that your greatest legacy to the students of this district is your work with our high school students to develop and launch the program known as SOS, Students Offering Support. This important program touches students in a profoundly different way than academics, the arts, music, sports, or clubs ever could. The work of SOS has been presented by our students to others so as to share how they can replicate this work. Aside from the thousands and thousands of students that you have impacted over the years of your career, the students you have reached through the development of SOS is by far the most important work that you have done here in Lake Orion and beyond. Dare I say, perhaps the most important work in your lifetime. Speaking of your lifetime, you are ending your career with 50 years, or 600 months, or 18,262 days, or 438,291 hours, or 26,297,460 minutes spent in education. Of that time, your most important time, Dragon time, you have given Lake Orion nearly 10 years, or 116 months, or 3,507 days, or 84,168 hours, or 5,050,080 minutes. I wish I had kept a tally of the snow days that you have called in your tenure in Lake Orion, but I didn't. I only know you had your fair share of them, even though our students would disagree and claim there weren't enough. Since November of 2010, you have worked with 14 different Board of Education members, 5 different board presidents, been a part of approximately 232 plus board meetings, and some of those were lengthy workshops, upwards of 116 policy committee meetings and 116 finance committee meetings. And these meetings only cover the board superintendent team and do not include your weekly cabinet meetings, administrator meetings, quarterly PTO leader meetings, the multitude of meetings you held with community members and students, and so many other endeavors. And I am most certain that I haven't even gotten them all. I didn't even touch on the county level meetings with other superintendents, and there's so many more. It is quite clear that the appointed interim superintendent turned superintendent brought great dedication with her to Dragon Country, a dedication and a legacy that will live on and on. You came into the district in the midst of a bond and subsequently lived through a few other bond campaigns. Success was achieved after some deep dive efforts to right-size the district. The 2016 Sinking Fund campaign was a success, as was the 2018 bond. As you depart from us, you leave exciting work in progress. The future for Lake Orion Community Schools is definitely bright because of the much needed work that will be done thanks to community support with the bond. You may be departing, but your impact on the structures and infrastructure of Lake Orion Community Schools will be ongoing, impacting future generations of Dragons and providing the cornerstone of our community, our schools, with long-term facility stability. They say that if you want to touch the future, teach children. In your career, you have done just that. Of all the districts you worked in, I like to think you saved the best for last. Thank you for all you've done for Lake Orion Community Schools. You may be leaving Dragon Country, but remember, once a dragon, always a dragon. Once upon a time, our district was in need of a great leader, and they happened upon Marion Ginopolis. They kept her for 10 years, And then she graduated into retirement to live happily ever after. Marion, on behalf of the board, I have some gifts here that we'll deliver in the next couple days, but hopefully you can see these amazing cookies.
Oh, yum. Those are beautiful. Thank you.
For graduation theme.
Thank you.
And for you, we have this dragon sketch.
That is beautiful. I love that.
With a nameplate on it that says, once a dragon, always a dragon.
Thank you so much, Birgit.
Thank you, Marion.
All right, thank you very much, Birgit. And finally, to close the evening out and the career out, Marion, please.
Okey-doke. You exhausted me, Birgit, with all of those years. But, you know, there's an old saying, how time flies when you're having fun. You know, and I've got a few numbers for you too, because despite 782 board meetings in my career, 240 of them were actually here in Lake Orion. And the board, you're right, it actually turned over 3 different times while I was here. In fact, there are only 2 members of the board that hired me, and that is Steve and Jim. And that's not to speak of something you didn't know, Birgit. I traveled 15,600 miles going back and forth to Lake Orion from West Bloomfield every single day to come to work. But despite all of those things, I actually have no regrets. I just have truly enjoyed my career and especially my time in Lake Orion. And another thing that you don't know, this is the longest I have ever been in any one job and or school district. I just want to do a little bit of history. During my 10 years here in Lake Orion, we've had a tremendous number of accomplishments. We restructured or kind of right-sized the school district to address a number of financial really challenges that we had at the time. We passed a non-homestead renewal, a sinking fund, and a really hefty bond, which I'm excited about for everybody. We supported schools of choice, and this was not only an opportunity for additional finances, but quite frankly, one of the things that I'm most proud of with our Schools of Choice program is that it offered opportunities to children who might not otherwise have those same opportunities in other school districts. So for that, I am really very pleased and proud. We repurposed Pine Tree Elementary School for our children with special needs, not just for Lake Orion children, but for children throughout this county. We've had non-contentious and collaborative relationships and negotiations with all of our unions. We've put in place, this I am most proud of, as should you be, we have put in place an administrative team in this school district that quite frankly is second to none in this state. That is all of our administrators, our leadership team. Birgit mentioned this, but I'm very pleased with what has occurred with our programs to address the emotional needs of our and mental health issues of our students. Students offering support started off as a parent group and ended up finally and rightfully with all of our students that has just really taken off. Support for Real Talk, Bully Busters, all of those. Academically, I can't tell you how pleased I am with from where we started and where we are now with our academic achievement of our kids. Groups like the legislative advocacy, the real estate breakfasts that we've had, all of those kinds of things, PTO leadership and so forth. And actually the most fun I've had in this district was our Dragon Olympics when we did that as our welcome back. You know, all of the things that I mentioned have really been important to me, but quite frankly, the most important thing is the relationships that I have built and have become, in my mind, solid among all of our stakeholders. And I say this is important because as I graduate, I'm most proud of the improved morale that has occurred throughout this district. Staff, parents, students, and our community members, but especially our kids. But let me be very, very clear.
I came in as interim, as you well know, in 2010, but I would not have been able to accomplish these and many other highlights. And quite frankly, I really would not have stayed quite as long as I did, except for 4 individuals that I want to acknowledge tonight. First, and this is the truth, I would not have stayed this long had it not been for Julie Opel. One day we had a phone call, Julie, if you remember, from an angry parent who wanted, don't start crying, who wanted to talk to me and you wouldn't let her for some reason. You were my little blocker. And she said, well, you're just a secretary. Do you remember that, Julie? And Julie, I have to tell you something. You are the hardest working, most dedicated, loyal, brilliant, and understanding person with whom I've ever worked. And I have to tell you, you have become part of my family, and I will miss you. I will call you and tell you jokes during the day, and I will treasure our friendship immensely. The other 3 people that I want to recognize are Heidi, Rick, and John. While each has their unique area of responsibility, we have worked as a solid and unified team, and all the decisions that have been made in this district have been made with this cabinet, the 4 of us together. It wasn't unusual, quite frankly, that they would challenge me and challenge each other. In fact, I'm kind of glad that our cabinet meetings were never recorded or televised. I'm sure you guys are glad too. So you actually had the benefit, board, of not 1 superintendent. You had the benefit of 4 superintendents for the price of 1. And that is as a result of the work that Rick, Heidi, John, and I have done together. They've worked alongside of me throughout their tenure here and my tenure here. And I have to tell you that I'm really going to miss you guys. Maybe I will put a little microphone in there to hear what you're up to after I leave. But the one thing I do want to especially thank Heidi, when I had cancer 4 years ago, she is the one who stepped up and really worked and really took over and made a huge difference. And I'm most appreciative, Heidi. In closing, I want to thank the board, this board and previous boards that I've worked with for your support throughout these past years. Some years have been more difficult than others, but I'm really grateful to have been allowed to provide the leadership in this school district that has really, in my mind, I am most proud of. I think we have done some amazing things, and it's as a result of the support of the school board and those who have come before you. So with that, I say goodbye, and no 783 board members meetings. Good luck, Rick. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. And we wish you well. On that note, our meeting is adjourned.